Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode, we will be talking about the supernatural horror film Children of the Corn, directed by Fritz Kiersch and released March 9th, 1984.
Yes.
The OG Children of the Corn film adaptation of the Stephen King story. Yes.
This was one of the first horror movies that I watched after I decided that I liked horror movies. And I probably debated if I should run for the hills and not ever watch another horror movie again. Because the music or the chanting that always happened, like at the very beginning, and Isaac...
Corn whispers.
Yeah, the corn whispers were a little too much for me. When I was a teenager watching this movie for the first time. And I still remember that my mom had rented it and we were going to watch it after church. And so I spent the entire time that I was at church thinking about watching Children of the Corn. She probably didn't intend for that, but that's what was happening.
That's great use of the time.
I was thinking about Children of the Corn, which, I mean, ironically is kind of about some sort of twisted religion. So,
yeah,
that is for sure. Before we dive into it, let's go through a few of the production notes. Filmed in Sioux City, Homick, and Whiting, Iowa. Based on Stephen King's 1977 short story of the same name. This was Fritz Kiersch's directorial debut. I don't really have any budget information. I tried to find it, but at the box office it made $14.6 million. 92 minutes long. Pake, give us a synopsis.
I guess, if I have to. No. A young couple is trapped in a remote town where a dangerous religious cult of children believes that everyone over the age of 18 must be killed.
Yes. I never really understood why Isaac decided to go that route, but, we'll see. For me, before we start talking about the characters, I just want to say a couple of things. One, and I talked about this on another podcast at some point, the scene of Isaac's just walking into the diner window with that black hat and these blue eyes and the expression is still one that haunts me. And I will admit, I did not watch this movie at night alone. I watched it during the daylight hours because I don't think I could watch it after dark. It still creeps me out. Which is going to be great because I have a feeling that with Pake's sense of humor, we are going to get some fun comments that are going to be a huge contrast to my fear.
Yeah. Maybe all of my jokes today can finally break whatever hold that this movie has on you. Because you talk about Isaac when we first see him, he's so scary, and my first note is he somehow looks 9 and 65 at the same time.
Well, he's supposed to be 9. But he doesn't look 9 to me.
No.
He was actually like 24 when he played the part.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks different because his eyes in real life are brown. So, I don't know. There was something about him standing there. I still see pictures of it, and I'm just like creeped out. He's got this smirk, and Nope. I don't watch it at night. No. Nope. Did not like the poor mechanic and the dog and Malachi, who was also insanely creepy.
Yeah,
Those are just a few things.
Malachi's not scary. He just wants to tell everybody about his favorite TV show.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Outlander. Had a feeling that might come up.
Oh, yeah. No, I've got plenty of that joke being rehashed over and over again. Just you wait.
I don't think he is, reserved about it. I think he makes sure that everyone knows in a very loud voice.
Absolutely.
One thing about this movie I'll mention is it's kind of like a child's religious cult where they follow a leader aimlessly, and it kind of showcases the danger of following a cult leader.
Yeah.
Without any question and being aimless and just believing 100%. So that is something that I had never really considered or thought about until watching it this time. And it really resonated with me that, when you don't question things, you can go down a very dangerous path.
Yep. For sure.
So I guess we should get started the way we always do with characters.
Yeah. I have 3 character sections that I've just kind of got as duos plus. Mm-hmm. I've got Bert and Vicky together. I've got Job and Sarah, the siblings who I have a different nickname for that we'll get to. And then we have Isaac and Malachi, but then also just like the other cult grouping, and even He Who Walks Behind the Rose, or gets thrown into that. Which I got really tired of typing that whole thing out every time, but I did until the last note that I included, and I was like, "Do they call him He Who?" And I was like, "No, he's not He Who. He Who's Hoo Ha gets blown up." No, So then it was just like a HWWBTR, and I was like, I'll know what that is, because I'm really tired of typing that whole name every time.
I can totally sympathize with that. It's interesting. Job and Sarah were actually not in the short story at all. They were added by, I think it was George Goldsmith did a rewrite, because Stephen King wrote the original script for the movie based off his short story. The studio did not want to go with it. They wanted to go in a different direction, and so George Goldsmith rewrote it, adding in these characters. And King wasn't very happy about the changes. And they had kind of this little disagreement between Goldsmith not getting what the horror genre was, and King not understanding the external experience that video media is versus novels and short stories. Which I thought was interesting. Yeah. But Goldsmith did say that King was very diplomatic when he was interviewed about how he didn't like the concept. He didn't completely trash it. He was diplomatic about it, which someone's adapting your story into a movie and you don't like it, being diplomatic is kind of a gift to them.
Yeah, he wasn't that diplomatic when it came to The Shining, so...
No, definitely not.
He did not have as nice words to say about Kubrick, so...
So, originally Sam Raimi, who had done Evil Dead, in 1981, he was the one that was supposed to direct this. He wanted more time to get things ready, and so instead they offered it to Tommy Lee Wallace, who had just directed Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and would also go on to direct in 1990 this miniseries that we may have covered called It. So they went with someone who really had no experience at all. And this is how it is. They had a direction, it's what they wanted to do, and they definitely committed to it. So This is what we get. Couple other things. It was released the same year that Terminator came out, and Terminator was Linda Hamilton's big blockbuster role. And she, of course, plays Vicky in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 92, they did a sequel called Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice. That kind of jump-started this 7 direct-to-video sequels, with Children of the Corn Runaway from 2018 being the last one. There's also a 2009 TV film remake that is much truer to King's short story than this one. Much closer. And then there's a 2020 reboot that took about 4 years to release. Finally came out. New characters, same name, little bit different concept.
I've never seen a single Children of the Corn movie besides this first one. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only one that I've seen.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, is that a good thing? Just to leave it at that? But then there is the part of me that's curious. Like, even the ones that are really bad, I just kind of want to see what happens.
There are a few, honestly. There are a couple that are, they're not going to be like Thanksgiving 3. Like that's not what it is. However, I will say that they are not necessarily movies that we want to cover every single one of them. Because it's not, they're not going to hold your interest that much, I don't think. I will say, though, that interestingly enough, Carrie Skoglund, who did a lot of work on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV series, she directed one of them. And for the life of me, I don't even know what one it is. I mean, I'll look it up quick. The one with Isaac coming back. So Isaac returns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Children of the Corn 666.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Name.
Yeah, so that's what I have to say on that.
And that's what I have to say about that.
Yes. So let's go ahead and let's jump in with the characters.
All right. I guess the best place to start is Bert and Vicky, our grown-ups, our interlopers, our outlanders!
Oh, man. A long time I could not hear the word interloper or outlander without thinking about this movie.
Uh-huh. I still
because
can't.
It's so not something that you hear. I mean, yes, there's an Outlander TV series now, so it's more common, but honestly,
yep.
Outside of that, it's not as common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we meet them after the opening, but we're not going to worry about the opening. We'll get to it later. Because that's how we do things. We don't have to talk about the movie in order.
No.
So Bert and Vicky, they are in a relationship. They're not married because she makes a comment about something like, oh, is that a proposal? And then...
yes, and commitment comes up later.
But, so they're just like a dating couple. They seem pretty serious, and they're like, on his birthday, driving cross country. He's got an opportunity for like an internship, medical internship kind of thing. He's, I guess, not officially a doctor, but he's close.
He finished the schooling. I think this is kind of maybe
if he's got the doctorate, then I guess he technically is. Whether he's got the job or not. I did think the little lighter that she gives him, which comes back later for sure. But yeah, just the Bert. I already forgot his last name, but
do last names really matter in this?
No, but it says on it, says Bert whatever, and then MD, and then under that she has MD saying standing for my darling. It was like, oh, cute.
She's willing to move cross country with them for this residency, so I'm kind of like, she's stood by you all this time. Maybe decide if you want to be with her or not.
Yeah. But birthday wakes him up with a candle and a little cake or donut or something. Make a wish, and then she says, what's your wish? And then he says, live happily after, and that's why she goes, oh, is that like a proposal? But then immediately I was like, you're not supposed to say your wish, Bert. Now we know why everything happens in this movie the way it does, because you jinxed it by saying a wish.
Yeah.
We just found the first, like,
the catalyst.
We found it. The first domino right there was you telling her what the wish was. Got it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're driving through Nebraska towards this big job opportunity, and it's just cornfields all the way down.
I've been to Nebraska, and I'll tell you, it's a lot of cornfields.
Mm-hmm. Iowa's the same way.
Yeah.
I've driven through Iowa a few times. It's, yeah.
I spy something that begins with the letter C.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they spend some time, they pass some time really well. I was like, yeah, I would also have some fun spending time just mocking the hyper-religious wackadoos on the radio. I love that.
I knew you were going to love that part.
Just the way that, no room for that. Oh, no! Like, they would just react to everything. It was so funny. Oh, no room for those who watch public television.
No room for commitment.
Yeah. So funny. See, I was like, okay, they're a fun couple. They're great. Meanwhile, while they're driving, we're picking up on the children of the corn a little bit. What's going on? We meet Joseph, who's had enough of Isaac and Malachi's shit, so he's taking off through the cornfields. Unfortunately for him, he's hunted down, taken out, and left to be a bump in the road for Bert and Vicky. As a matter of speaking.
I feel like we need to have a counter and a bell for every joke for this episode.
No, we don't need that. Be too distracting.
No, I'll just add it in post-production.
Oh, yeah. Which, yeah, terrifying situation. They're looking at the map, and then they hit a child out in the road. But yeah, Bert feels that something's off pretty immediately. It's like, why is this boy out in the middle of the road, deep in the middle of nothing but just cornfields everywhere? And then especially after, like, doing a little bit of, like, snooping and being like, well, now his suitcase with fresh blood on it and his throat is slit. It's like, he's already badly hurt. Something else is going on. And so he ends up wrapping him up, throwing him in the trunk, and they go drive off to find help, which I could open up this whole what do you do in that situation conversation, but honestly, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But it's like, given the time period and like what's going on, you're like, yeah, I guess. You just put the kid's body in the trunk, which is like, I mean, this is pre-cell phones.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can just like call the police right there.
Or call no.
Nobody around. You just stand there with a dead child and wait for somebody else to come by. Like, it's, so I guess, yeah, you don't want to just leave him there, because then if somebody comes by and finds him, then you've committed a crime, like way past it, where you've run off. So yeah, you just take him with you, I guess, and go to the next place that you can to find and alert an authority figure of some kind, or get it to a phone and call somebody and explain the accident. Like, on a non-joking matter, I was like, yeah, it's a terrifying situation and really sad. And it's like, honestly, like I said, it's like, what would you do? And then I was like, you know what? I actually don't want to have that conversation in reality. I don't want to think about it, so we'll move on.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a couple of jump scares during that time that I remember, like, I know they're there now, so I can be prepared for them, but at the time, it was just, like, a shock. Like, Joseph even being in the road and hit by the car was, like, a jump. Like, it's a jump. And then later, Vicky goes over to Joseph's body, and it jumps up at her. And they didn't even tell her.
That's great.
They did not tell her that was going to happen.
So the reaction was
absolutely real. Yes.
I love that. Yeah, but Bert's very like, obviously, yeah, he's worried and wants to make sure that this situation is taken care of in the best way, but he's like a medical professional. So not only just being like a civil kind of servant type person that wants to help people, even though, I mean, immediately he knows, I mean, there's no helping this kid. He's dead. But then it kind of really examining him and looking at him is like he'd already been mortally wounded by someone else. So, like, that's when he was like, he was already dead really even before. Like, somebody else killed him, and
exactly
this just happened. So he takes the suitcase in case there's something important there. To which Vicky's looking through it. And she freaks out about the
corn
cob cross, the corn cross. And the way she's like, I think it's repulsive. And I was like, it's a cross made of corn. It's not that gross. Or even that weird. Like, I bet I could buy one on Etsy right now if I really started looking. Is it weird? Sure. Is it disgusting? Nah, like, it wasn't rotten or anything. It's like, it's just a cross made of corn. It's not that freaky. What else are kids gonna do out there in Nebraska?
In the 80s.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Make corn cob crosses?
Right. I mean, that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Oh.
They also turn to the radio for maybe some additional assistance, but again, it's still the same screaming people.
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, no, we're good. Don't need that. It's all that they have to listen to on the radio around there. We wonder why are Isaac and Malachi the way they are. That's the only thing that's playing on the radio in their area. What did you expect?
Well, they banned all toys. Like, you're not allowed to have toys or music or books or anything.
No drawing, no games, no. They literally just run a religious child community of absolute awfulness. No fun. No joy. No anything good ever.
No. Unless you have a special gift, and we'll get to that.
Right.
So they're driving around just trying to find a place to stop, but they do come across this very nice mechanic and his dog Sarge, who encourages them to go to Hemmingford, despite it being 19 miles away, and not to go to Gatlin, which is a lot closer.
Yeah. It was definitely, I think he was credited as Deal.
Yeah. I don't remember the name even being said, so I don't know.
Just the credit. Yeah, he's telling me, go to Hemmingford. There's nothing in Gatlin. And he clocks the blood on the hood of the car. So I was immediately like, because I have seen this before, but it's been a while. But it's like, yeah, you see, he's gently trying to lead him in a safe direction. So you're like, okay, he knows something, but he's not spelling it out plainly. He's just like, oh, they've got their religion over there, and they're not going to be able to help you. Just go to Hemmingford.
Yeah. I mean, did Isaac want him to send him there? I mean,
that's what I'm not sure about. I don't think so. I think, honestly, he was trying to be helpful without breaking whatever bargain he had made with Isaac before.
Yeah, because
where he's not going to tell him, don't go to Gatlin because there's a bunch of satanic cult children there. Like, he's just going to be like, there's nothing there for you. You'll be better off going to, where he's maybe trying to help them. And I think that's why Malachi gets mad at him and kills him.
Yeah, I wondered, though, if they took the body to Hemmingford, it might get the police involved, and they'll all go to Gatlin and shut the shit down.
Yeah.
And maybe, honestly, that's what Deal wanted. Was to get shit shut down.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why he stayed there. He should have just left.
Yeah, I don't know what was keeping him there. Because, I mean, when, like, the wind and stuff comes through and he hears the children and what he says, I didn't tell them nothing. I kept my bargain, just like always. So it was like, well, what is that bargain? It's like he's been allowed to live outside of Gatlin as long as he's quiet about it and with anyone coming through. Maybe part of his deal is that if people come through, he leads them into Gatlin. But it also doesn't seem like they're constantly sacrificing people, but
right.
We don't get a full scope of exactly what it is Isaac is doing and leading and like what their actual
no, definitely not
systems of sacrifice. Because I mean, they have their own sacrificial system, which I don't want to get into this too deeply, but yeah, you're like, what's the longevity of this? Because if any of them turn 18 and then they like go through a ritual and like sacrifice themselves to he who walks, well, it's like, I mean, eventually they're all just going to be gone because they're not, they're kids. They're not like,
right,
bringing in any new generations of anything. No. It's like, it would just kind of, maybe just leave them to it and they'll run their course eventually and they'll all be dead.
In the next 18 years, they'll all be gone.
Yeah, within the next 18 years, they're done. Less than that, because the youngest of them aren't even...
No, there are no babies. Like... The youngest is probably Job and Sarah, and they're probably 8 and 10 at the most.
Right.
So
maybe it's like, you just let them do their thing. But who knows what their actual ultimate goal was, because it seems like over the course of them doing that, even sacrificing themselves, like, he who walks just keeps getting stronger and stronger. Maybe there is some... And again, I haven't seen any of the sequels to see if they had to dive into any of that, so I don't know. But maybe there is some more bigger ultimate apocalyptic goal in mind in the future, and so it needs to be stopped. Who knows?
Well, the premise for the next one is basically some kids from Gatlin are relocated to another town nearby. That's all I'm going to say.
Gotcha. Yeah, although, some of those weren't kids. When they're all gathered around and Isaac is speaking and I'm looking at some of the like actors and they're like, that's not a child. You can't. That's a 40-year-old man in a pair of overalls. I don't know. He
was pretending. It's make-believe, Peg. It's make-believe.
He's like, they haven't noticed that I'm an adult yet. I'm just gonna keep playing along.
I'm really my son. See, I'm 16, not 35.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that guy, and then because I couldn't tell. Like maybe he's leading them there because like the signs are all weird. Like did that guy then his deal or whatever? Like the one that's moving the signs around to lure them in?
No, that's supernatural. I think.
Okay, so those were doing. Yeah, although I don't think Bart was really helping his case, because I was like, okay, so to avoid Gatlin and try to get to the bigger town, you drive into the cornfield. Yeah, that's not going to help. Like, Vicky even says that. She's like, this isn't a road. It's like, we don't want to go to the small town. We want to go to the big town. So I'm going to take this pathway into the corn, because that will be the way to get there. So when they make the full circle and come back in front of the gas station, he's like, we should have never listened to that old fool. I was like, hey, man, he didn't tell you to drive around in circles in the cornfield. That's on you.
Yeah. But you know what? He's a doctor. You can't tell him that he's not right.
Right.
I mean, some doctors you have to just... Yeah.
Yeah. And then they get into town and there's like stopping place to place and they try to chase down these kids that doesn't go anything. And then they're looking at doors, and then they walk. I was like, how long have they been at this? Because that body in the trunk has got to be starting to get a little ripe.
Because it's summer.
Yeah.
It's the Midwest. It's hotter than hell. Yes, it would be stinking and cooking in there.
Yeah. It's like, how long have they been going? But then, as they're like, okay, fine, we'll go to Hemingford. And then they see Job and Sarah. They don't see them, but they see the door open as they're like, going and hiding out in their old house. And so it's like, there's somebody there, we'll use the phone here. Which I love the, knocking and nobody's coming, so then they just walk in. Bert, this is somebody's house. He goes, I know, I just want to use their phone. And I was like, oh. Because as we all know, that's the perfectly acceptable reason to just walk into a stranger's home. Why are you in my house?
Towns.
I wanted to use your phone. Oh, okay.
Yeah, small towns.
That's fine.
In the 80s, Pake, it was a different time.
Well, in that case, come on in.
It's the neighborly thing that you do.
Yeah, so that's where they meet Job and Sarah, which we can talk more about them later.
Yes.
But yeah. Or at least Sarah. Sarah was there at the time. I don't think Job was. Job was out in town, but Sarah was there. They meet Sarah. And then Job follows him as he leaves Vicky with Sarah for him to kind of go back to town hall and back to the main part of town to see if he can find anybody, a phone, something. So he goes back to town hall. Job follows him in there as he's looking around. I'll say corn zombie Jesus was a horrifying sight.
Multiple times we saw their updates to religious portraits there and at the church, and it was equally terrifying to see their upgrades. Not upgrades.
No.
No kindness, all evil.
Yeah, no. But while he's there, then that's when Malachi and his goons nab Vicky at the house while she's with Sarah. After Sarah draws her a precious little picture of her getting stabbed and murdered by the corn kids.
It's basically a picture of her getting dragged off by them.
Yep.
To the middle of the cornfield. Yeah.
And then Bert's looking at some of the art and stuff and sees like what they have done with adults and stuff, and then he has the thought, he's like, my girlfriend! Runs back to the house. They husked my car. Hate when that happens. Not again. Classic children pranks of the 80s.
Yep. It's just what you did, right?
I know. How many cars did you husk back in the day? I'm sure plenty.
Not many in New England. I'm figuring maybe you had a better chance to do that in Texas, but wait.
We don't do corn here either.
No corn?
Not really. No. So what, you lobstered people's cars then?
We did, yes. Yeah, you know what we did? We put dead fish in places in people's cars, and then it just smelled up. No one knew where the fish was.
Yeah.
No, we didn't do
what's
that.
the main export of Texas? Racism? No. No, here, roses. We didn't do a lot of stuff with roses.
I would like my car to be decorated with roses.
I know that one's not as much of a prank.
That could be nice.
The main thing we have here, it's not much of a prank. It'd be like, aw, what a sweet gesture.
Yes.
Car is husked. He runs up and sees Sarah and realizes that they've taken Vicky. And so he goes out. And then, the supernatural stuff picks up a little bit. Whereas I was like, just a thought. If stalks of corn part on their own to make a path for you, definitely do not go down that path.
No, don't. It didn't make any sense to me. I questioned. I'm like, no. And you hear like the corn whispering, and no. No.
And you know why the corn whispers and doesn't talk very loud?
No, but you're going to tell me.
Well, mostly because it's just talking to itself, and it's got so many ears that it doesn't need to be that loud. It'll hear.
Oh, proud of yourself, aren't you?
So Bert's just wandering around, and that's when he finds the church and realizes, the day that someone in Gatlin turns 19, they're sacrificed for he who walks behind the rows. And he interrupts such a ritual, only to get chased through town by Malachi and a bunch of twerps of the maze.
Twerps of the maze.
Another name for them.
Uh-huh.
You know me with my notes, I get bored of just like referring to people as the same thing over and over again.
So you have to come up with something
nicknames
new.
And stuff that I gotta come up with more.
I think that fashion in Gatlin went downhill a lot because the kids looked like they were wearing clothes from Little House on the Prairie.
Right. It's like, where did they even have those in the first place?
I don't remember that.
Was there like a costume store in town that they just raided after Isaac took over?
Because everyone wants to dress up like Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
This is what we wear now.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Names for everything. Because I have... It's also a reference to Dimension 20 because I can't help myself with that. But I decided eventually Sarah and Job are the corn cuties. That's my name for them. Because they're sweet kids. They're not the murderous psychopaths that the others are. They don't like Isaac and Malachi and the things that they do. So I was like, we have like the evil corn kids. And then we got our pair of corn cuties.
Well, their dad was smart. He didn't like Isaac. And so he wouldn't let the kids go be part of the cult.
Yeah.
Cult of Isaac.
Yeah. So Malachi and the others are, hunting down Bert. Follows him into this, like, shop area. But Bert kneecaps Malachi. and then immediately ruins any level of a cool retreat that he possibly could have had after that. He's like, haha, got him, wham, face first into a like wooden column. I was like, you dummy.
Yeah. Not the brightest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. But then that's when he runs back into Job and gets taken down to the little safety cellar.
And finds out that Job and Sarah are actually brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
Which he didn't know because they only met Sarah at the house at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, so while Malachi is out in the streets threatening Vicky and screaming Outlander over and over and over again, Bert's down in the cellar with the corn cuties, just hanging out, having a nice time. Just a good old time, you know?
Stitching himself up, taking care of him. Because Sarah and Job have a nice little setup there that no one knows about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame them for having secret hideouts. I don't.
Yeah, no.
Not in this universe.
Yeah, none of the other kids seem fun to hang out with at all.
No. Some of them seem quite rabid with their praise of he who walks.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually, Job and Sarah kind of let Bert know what's going on to some degree. So they know that they have Vicky. And so they're like, well, we know where we can get you. We know where they're going to be at a certain time. We can get you to where you need to be. But first, they take him to that barn, which is what it was like, check it out, Bert. I got you a premium balcony seat to your girlfriend's murder. And he's like, nope, I'm going to go down there. And confronts Malachi and Isaac and the rest. He's like, what kind of God commands kids to kill their parents? And I was like, yeah, it's supposed to be the other way around. Talking about Isaac.
Yeah.
But then he has the line, he says, any religion without love and compassion is false. It's a lie. And I was like, that's the quote of the movie.
Yes, it is. I wrote that down. It is the quote of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's missing. Love is missing.
Yes. Yeah, and then, his words kind of tend to sway a lot of the kids, I think, especially after seeing, which we haven't talked about much, but seeing what happens between Malachi and Isaac. Mom and dad are fighting. We see a lot of that, so the kids are already kind of on shaky ground. And so then with an adult, like some of those old ways for the kids of like, oh, we listen to authority figures, so this adult's coming in and telling them like, you're all being bad. And they're like, oh, maybe we are.
Yeah.
So they don't go after him as much as like Malachi is rabidly telling them to. And then Bert just needs him over there to smack the shit out of Malachi, just smack some sense into him a little bit.
Yeah, because Isaac at that point isn't an issue. He's out of the picture for a minute.
Yeah, whatever happened to him, I'll talk about
in a minute.
Although we'll get to it. Yeah, so even with Malachi and Isaac not really an issue anymore, we still have he who walks behind the rows. Whatever he is, it is, whatever. I guess, basically, he who walks is it. But it takes the form of other movies that we've covered, like a graboid or a tornado or the angry molesting tree vines, but in corn form.
I mean, look at it. The way that it rumbles under the ground is very much like a graboid.
Oh, I went graboids. Got it. El Blanco is he who walks behind the road. Rose, got it. That's no. It's a Tremors movie. I didn't realize that. No. That's good. Okay.
It's not. They use similar techniques with the graboids and what we saw for He Who Walks Behind the Rose, like to be coming under the ground.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So now they're just dealing with the monster who takes all these like forms as like a storm and all this going on. And all the kids are now just hunkered down in the barn, and it's like a tornado ripping through, and it's like, he has this idea of like, has anybody stood up against this? Like, what's a way to stop it? And that's where Job's like, the Blue Man! And he was like, the Blue Man? Who's that? What did he do? And I was like, well, he mostly made cool sounds with paddles and PVC pipes. But aside from that, he also read Bible passages that the monster didn't like, it sounds like.
Officer Hotchkiss.
Actually, what's fun is I noticed, because I had to go back, what Job says is Ossifer Hotchkiss.
Ossifer Hotchkiss, okay.
And I don't know if it was on purpose or if that was just young Robbie Kiger unable to say the word officer, and this was the best take they could get. But either way, it was actually totally adorable. And I was like,
yeah.
oh.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It
So
works either way.
Job has to explain to Bert what the Blue Man was doing. You know, yes, he was reading a Bible passage.
And doing a Vegas residency with his friends.
Yes. In addition to trying to burn the cornfield down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot to take on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you would think you wouldn't have enough time to do all of that and be in Las Vegas for a residency, but it did work, right?
It did pretty good. Yeah. But Bert's got to finish the Blue Man's mission. Maybe not the Vegas show, but...
No.
But definitely burning the field in a lake of fire to stop the beast.
And now that song is in my head.
So yeah, he's gonna take the gasohol, which is a word that I'm not familiar with really, but it's a thing. That's like...
Did you look it up to see what it is for real?
No.
You don't want to know?
Nah. I understood. It's the words gas and alcohol together, so I'm like, I get the gist.
It's a mixture of gasoline and ethyl alcohol used as fuel in internal combustion engines.
Makes sense. Yeah, so he goes down there to plug it into the like irrigation sprinkler system for the field.
Which is a great idea,
yeah, that's really
theory.
Great. But then he gets attacked by the vines and stuff, and then Job gets to show up and help cut him free. I was like, man, the kid just saved your life, and all you can say to him is, what are you doing here? Go on, move, now! And I'm like, I'm grateful. And then after I said that, then Job has that line, he goes, excuse me? And I was like, yeah, you tell him, Job. Excuse me. He was very snarky with him. I was like, yeah, he deserved that. You tell him.
I love that Job gave it back to him.
Mm-hmm.
It basically looks like a Molotov cocktail that he threw out the bottle.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah. Job has to go get it and bring it back at great potential harm to himself, and just says, throw it and throw it right this time. And I was just like, yes.
There you go. Yeah. Of course, yeah, he's like yelling at Job, like, get out of here, go away. And then as soon as he's like, wait, I don't know how to get this sprinkler system running. Joby, I need help. Yeah, now you want the kid.
Yeah. You need his help now because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. And then kind of, the movie has such an abrupt ending, but a lot of movies at this time period did.
They did, yeah.
Yes, they exploded the monster, and now they're just going to take the two corn cuties and head to Seattle on foot, at least to Hemingford. And then it's like, what about the other kids? It's like, what other kids? I have no idea what you're talking about. We don't want to think about them, except for church girl Slashy Sandra or whatever. We got to knock her out with the car door first.
Yes.
But now everything is good. I was like, well, what about Joseph's dead body in the trunk? That's so that I said everything's good.
We're leaving.
We're not worried about that anymore. Movie's over.
And Vicky, and Bert's like, oh, I just knocked her out. Well, we'll send her a get well card from Seattle and get the hell out of here. Yes, thank you, Vicky. That is the smartest decision you've made this entire time. I mean, truly.
So that's them.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps them up. So let's talk more Malachi, Isaac, because there's just some things with them that...
Yeah.
And we can go back to the beginning of the movie and actually talk about them.
Yeah, which, I've talked about a lot of those first things already. Some of my early notes, yeah.
Well, we learn right at the beginning that Isaac's in charge of everything, and he basically is using the kids to kill their parents and put them in the cornfield.
Yeah.
Because that's where they're buried. Like, they're in the corn.
Yeah, that like, delivery by Anne-Marie McAvoy as Sarah, a little bit. Just as like all the grown-ups are in the cornfield. It's like, what are they doing out there? They work. Isaac put them there, and I was like, well, that's just creepy.
I really love that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yep. And she says it so calmly.
I know.
Like it's no big deal. Isaac put them there. Good old Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all of the kids except Job and Sarah were with Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
All the time, it seems like. And because Job and Sarah's father was like, no, my kids, no, he thought it was not a good idea. They were kept away. But then Isaac just takes over the whole town by having the parents taken out because you can't have any authority figures. It's got to be just Isaac.
Just as it was like I did this last week with the monkey, where I don't know, I pay attention to road signs whenever you go into towns. I don't know why. I always like just really paying attention to those. And this one was like Gatlin, Nebraska, nicest little town in Nebraska. And I was like, is that so? It's
gonna get a new reputation now.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because Isaac's just on some wild, evil cult shit. Joseph the betrayer, he was cast out to the road. And, he who walks behind the rows will bring us the Outlanders, and we can sacrifice them and honor the blue man. And it's all just a bunch of yikes on bikes.
Yikes on bikes. Is that like a spin-off of Kids on Bikes?
Maybe.
Is it like the horror movie version?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Peg, I don't want to be part of a Yikes on Bikes campaign.
Ooh, I think I want to do that. That would be fun. I'd make it fun.
Do you promise?
Now I'm going to have to try to figure out what that's going to be exactly. It's going to happen now.
Do you promise it'll be fun?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I got to figure out what a Yikes on Bikes would be. I'm going to do it.
Just remember that I was the one that came up with the idea, kind of.
Yes. You'll get credit.
All right. Just a little credit.
Yeah. I did have one question where I was like, what happened to the cars of all the adults that used to be there? Because it's just like a ghost town. So did the kids drive them all away to somewhere else? Like, what?
Yeah, they weren't sitting outside the church, which is where you would expect to see them, like, or on the street. They're
Right,
just
like
gone.
the street's completely empty when Bert and Vicky roll up. I was like, I mean, did the kids move all the cars in the 3 years? Like, what happened?
I mean, maybe those were burned too, because they couldn't have radios, they couldn't have books, they couldn't have TVs, they couldn't have anything.
Yeah.
Isaac was pretty protective over Job and Sarah because Sarah had a little bit of a gift, basically.
It's another, like, instance of King works having some form of The Shining, even if it's not in that name.
Yes.
I think we've talked about that, where, like, throughout a lot of Stephen King's works, like, The Shining is kind of one of those things that constantly makes an appearance, even if it's not called that. But people who have those kind of psychic abilities or extreme, empathy or understanding or people reading skills or can see the future. There's all these like different things. Even to where his son incorporated it a little bit. We talked about when we did the Black Phone.
Yeah.
Having the sister there, having these like visions and stuff. It was like a very Shining kind of thing within that.
I honestly think it's kind of a clever way to connect stories without connecting them, really.
Yeah, it kind of puts Stephen King universe into a loosely shared universe. I mean, it's kind of like everything kind of then falls into the Dark Tower universe in some way, even if it's a multiversal kind of thing. But The Shining kind of holds a lot of stuff together. Yeah.
I like that. I like that there's this loose connection that you can kind of tie into. Yeah. And connect to and think, they're all connected, but not in this obvious, punch in the face way or, hit you over the head. This is how it's connected. And I like that. I think it's kind of clever.
Yeah. And her version of it, is like she sees the future or is telling the future through her drawings. She doesn't have visions or whatever, but she just starts drawing, and whatever she draws are things that are coming up. She foresaw Isaac and his followers killing the adults before that even happened. It's when she was sick, and that's what she was drawing. And then she knows about the car that's coming into town, Bert and Vicky, and yeah, even drawing like the 2 mile sign and all of that, and then Isaac can take her drawings and prophesize and theorize, and oh, this is what's happening, and here's why, and yada yada yada. Yeah, but then we see with Malachi, on the other hand, from Isaac, he's kind of rogue. That we learn from him arguing with Isaac, like he wasn't supposed to kill Joseph the way he did.
Right.
And then, like, there wasn't a sacrificial element to it. He just slit his throat and then threw him out in the road. Or even the man at the gas station.
Reminds me a little bit of, like, Negan and Simon in The Walking Dead, where Simon went and did all the things that Negan didn't really want him, in a way that Negan didn't want him to do.
Yeah, and that's really what it was. Even, like, he told him, like, we needed the man at the gas station. We were still using his fuel and his, like, stuff. Like, you went behind my back and did something that you weren't supposed to do. So he's going, he's going against Isaac, and Isaac is not pleased with that.
But there comes a time where Malachi gets the upper hand, and Isaac is the one that gets put up on the cross. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I get the couples fight, but crucifying the other person on a corn cross doesn't fix any problems. No, definitely not.
Although, I mean, I understand not wanting to put up with that snotty nose screeching. I see you. I understand. Maybe there's a better way, but I get it. That's just like, uh-oh, mom and dad are fighting. And by mom and dad, I mean Isaac and Malachi. Malachi just wants to murder ruthlessly, and Isaac keeps claiming he's the only one that the deity speaks to. And just get some counseling, you two.
Yeah, there's a point where Bert runs into the church and finds basically Amos has carved his chest and is draining it for everyone to drink. And Rachel basically says, go get Isaac. No. Bring Malachi. And the way she says it, you can tell that, we're not going to bring Isaac. Isaac is the easy one. No, we're going to bring Malachi because he's going to do the dark stuff. Yeah.
And so, I already kind of made this joke earlier. I ruined this note, but we're another one of those setup jokes. I was like, what's Malachi's favorite historical drama TV series on Starz? Outlander. Yeah, he's a huge Sam Heughan fan.
Yep.
Yeah. Outlander! Has anyone seen Outlander? It's a great show. Bear McCreary's score is phenomenal. Someone talk to me about Outlander! Yeah, that's...
Exactly.
And that's my impression of Malachi.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it is now nighttime. The night is his time. And Amos is jazzed to die. Isaac, not so much.
No, but his screaming sounded really odd.
Right. Yep. I'm not even going to begin to try to explain or even understand what happened to Isaac. I don't know what that was. Corn cross yeeted. Got it.
Honestly, it was... I called it beginner CGI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, whatever that was, don't know. But we know it ends with Zombie Isaac coming back from Malachi. He wants you too! And it's like... Yeah, I'm with Bert and the other kids. It's time to bounce.
It's
Peace
time
out,
to
y'all.
go.
Yeah. You guys... They're finally working out their problems together. Let's give them some privacy and let's just go. Let's go.
Cornfield daycare is not an option anymore. No. Time to go. Yeah, Isaac actually takes Malachi out, breaks his neck. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know what happens with Isaac. He blows up, disappears.
Well, I guess he comes back in the 6th movie. So.
Yes. Children of the Corn, 666.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 666 movies is too many now.
Yeah. I've actually seen that one. It's interesting.
I might have to. There is a part of me that wants to just watch all of with all the free time I have, to just watch all of the sequels just to see what happens. Maybe we do have to cover them, even if they're really bad, just for fun. Who knows?
We can try that. There are several series of movies that we have not even started.
I know. Too much to do.
And not enough time.
Mm-hmm. I guess the one thing we don't have to worry about is we'll never run out of movies to cover on this podcast. So
I know. Didn't we joke about that once, that we would still be podcasting like in a retirement home?
Yeah. Yeah. There will never be a moment we go, well, that's it. We covered all the movies. Like, think we're good. Even if we throw in the real bad ones sometimes, that can be fun.
I know. I thought of an idea for an episode sometime. We can do movies that we're never going to cover. Like a list.
Then I don't ever want to, never say never, right? Because sometimes, again, like I said, the really bad ones can be fun.
They can. Or maybe I'll rephrase that. Movies that I don't want to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to
there's a
cover.
list of movies we'll never cover.
Yeah.
Killing 3 is one of them, I think I can safely say.
Yes.
Also, things like a Serbian film or
Oh God, no.
Cannibal Holocaust. Like, I think we'll avoid those things. We're not doing that.
We're not covering Salo. No. There's not enough
there's some so like there's a list of movies that we'll never cover, but it's not going to be for the reasons of like because it's so bad or so stupid. It's like no, there's other reasons to not cover certain movies.
Absolutely. We are not covering those films.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So I think we've covered everything for the most part.
Yeah, so the only section that I had that we hadn't officially covered was Job and Sarah, but then I think I threw pretty much all those notes in as we went. This is the beginning of the movie is with Job, as he goes to church with his dad because his mom was at home with Sarah because Sarah was sick. And I think that her sickness was part of her shining as far as just freaking out because of what was coming.
Right. Because it was a big thing. It wasn't like they're going to come and get a lady out of her house. We're talking about they're murdering all the adults in town. Yeah.
And so as he says, he was the only kid at church. And then when they go to the diner after, he's the only kid in there. And that's when on that day, Isaac and the kids decide to kill all the adults in town. Job's at the diner, and so he's the only one left alive in the whole place. Let's see, when we see them playing Monopoly, Sarah says $1,300,000. And so I was like, technically, if I actually like type that out and move the decimal point and the comma, that's 1.3 million. That's really steep for Boardwalk.
Yes, even with 2 hotels, right?
Yeah, that's she runs a steep market for Boardwalk.
Wow. Yeah, but he did try to cheat her. He tried to cheat her, and she's like, no. She's a sassy little one. I liked her. They were not supposed to be playing board games. They were not supposed to be in that house, even though that was their house. Yeah.
And the music, which they always had on in that little record player with the little 45s. Yeah. Which she's listening to Del Shannon. I mean, Runaway is one of my favorite songs. I love that so much. One of my favorite songs of all time. So, of course, it's like... I was like, oh, yeah. I'm jamming with Sarah right here. Here we go.
And Malachi catches them, and he wants to punish them. I mean, he's already talked about he thinks they should be sacrificed. Isaac won't hear of it because he feels Sarah has the gift of sight. So he basically lets them do whatever they want. Yeah. And Malachi's mad.
Last note that I have was while Job is taking Bert to like the cellar, I said, Job, quit yelling, kid. If you're trying to secretly hide someone, maybe maximum volume isn't the best choice. Did he study at the Eric Shea School of Dialogue Delivery?
He may have, Pake. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I mean, retraining was imperative. I think we have covered everything. I will say this as my final note or my final comment. There are some big differences between the movie and the short story. And I'm not just talking about embellishing or adding to make it longer. I'm talking about added characters and the ending. It's just different.
I have not read the short story, the original short story. to be honest.
Well, it's a short story, so it's something you could get through pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you can read more than a couple pages a day.
Maybe. We'll see.
But yeah, I think we did it. Again, this movie freaked me out as a teenager watching it. And so it's good to have like crossed over that. And you know what? Your humor did help. Just a bit. Because I think if I ever come across it or watch it again, I will think about some of those things and it might make it a little less scary.
There you go. I have there's a service that I provide here.
I know. It's amazing. It's one of the great things about you.
It's not just dumb jokes. There's maybe some good in the world that I can put towards that. Oh, well, there goes the feedback phone. Perfect.
Wow.
Honey. So, yeah.
Maybe there are others out there that are just as scared as me.
Yeah. Have to answer it. Check it out. All right. We do have some feedback this week for this one, which, awesome. Of course, the classics tend to bring out some friends and their thoughts, so we always enjoy that. So I'll kick this one off. We've got, of course, Catherine coming to us here.
Always.
Catherine says, Outlander! This is one of my favorite horror movies. I've seen it dozens of times, but I couldn't resist rewatching it this week. I think I've seen most of the sequels, and last year I reread Stephen King's much darker short story. The first 10 minutes are the best, seeing the first attack on the adults from a child's point of view, then switching to his sister's drawings for the progression of the Children of the Corn. The music makes everything more terrifying. There are huge plot holes, and I really don't like the character of Bert. The book version was worse. But Joby makes up for it. He keeps rescuing the adults, stands up to the big kids, and even goes into the corn to take on He Who Walks Behind the Rose.
You know what, Catherine, you're right. Joby did stand up.
Yeah, he kind of is the ultimate badass of this movie.
Yeah, I didn't think about it until now, but you are absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who thought about things. You know, like where to have a hiding place and what to be doing and what not to be doing and figuring out all of this stuff. Yeah, definitely. He was the brains of the operation.
Not many people, adult or child, have the guts to stand up to a graboid in order to go pick up a Molotov cocktail.
Okay, so Alma says, I hope Pake don't be tearing this one to shreds. This one is an old classic that terrified me as a youngster. Me too. To this day, I hate cornfields and most definitely do not do corn mazes. My friends and family think I'm ridiculous for my fear of cornfields, but I do not play with He Who Walks Behind the Rose. Okay, so if we ever have a ZHEB meetup in Iowa, Alma is not going to come if we're anywhere near a corn maze.
If you're in Iowa, you're never not near a cornfield, at least. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah. Alma, I support you 100%. I'm not in on it either.
And then lastly, we've got one from our friend Becky. Says, I love this one. One of the creepiest, scariest movies of all time. I watched it this past Halloween, and it still holds up. Indeed it does.
The chanting and the music and all of that, it still creeps me out. Maybe we'll cover a sequel. Peg, you could put it on the wheel.
Put it on the wheel.
Well, if you'd like to submit your feedback like Catherine, Alma, or Becky, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast, or you can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. You can go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you're ever going to need. And if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We are available on all the podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. If you feel so inclined, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that is the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
We do indeed.
I want to let folks know Spotify is now allowing you to leave reviews as well.
You can leave comments on Spotify and stuff, and definitely hit us up over there too with some stuff. We'll be on the lookout for that. But yeah, speaking of sharing the love, and indeed that I said, a lot of stuff going on in the Podcastica universe around us and beyond. Of course, got to give some love to that. Strange Indeed, my other podcast, is back in action. It's been a while, but me and Rima are back with the final season of the Netflix series You. Season 5, the final season. We're having a good time with that. We've got the first 2 episodes out now. We're going weekly with that one. If anybody wants to listen in, run through that and watch with us. Whether either, have the patience like us to watch 1 episode a week, or go ahead and binge through the final season. I think Rima's trying to put up feedback posts for every episode that you can get to, and we'll get to them when we get there. And then rewatch with us every week and have a good time with it as we unfold the mysteries and ridiculousness that is happening in this final season. It's been fun so far, these first 2.
Yeah, it's a show I don't watch, so I can't listen. And I posted a message over there this week saying, I'm so glad you guys are back. I'm not listening because I don't watch the show, but I'm happy that you're back. Mm-hmm. It's been such a long time, so I'm super excited to see it at least popping up in my feed every week.
Yeah, it's fun to be back. Of course, big one, the kind of flagship show rebranded for Podcastica was the Walking Dead cast, of course, is now over to The Cast of Us, and they've got that running right now as The Last of Us Season 2 is airing weekly. So they've got their episode 3 coverage up. Eric, Ben, and my co-host from Strange Indeed, Rima, on this week to cover episode 3, The Path. A lot of great stuff over there with that. And also on that podcast, because it was originally a Walking Dead podcast, episode coverage of The Walking Dead Dead City. The new season, season 2, comes out very, very soon. And so weekly coverage of that will also be on that podcast feed over on The Cast of Us, run by Ben and his friend Alex. So you can check that out. Right now, you can actually listen to their catch-up kind of recap of season 1 episode that they just put up to get ready for this second season. So if you're watching Walking Dead, Dead City, definitely check out The Cast of Us coverage with Ben and Alex. We also have the Handmaid's Tale podcast on Podcastica going. Wendy, Jason, and whoever that is. No.
Yep, I am on that every week. We are getting through this season. It has been quite a ride so far, and I'm not sure where we're going to end up by the end of it, but it's been great to break things down with Wendy and Jason every week.
Yes, definitely. Handmaid's Tale viewers, check that out. Star Wars TV cast running right now, at least for a month of episodes, as Andor Season 2, final season of Andor as well. But we've already known from the get-go it's going to be a 2-season situation, build you up to Rogue One. But yeah, they're releasing 3 episodes a week, and so Jonathan and James are over there on the podcast, covering all 3 of those episodes each week, kind of like a, not even mini, just like a movie every week. Big things. I am absolutely adoring that show, and it's cool having the 3 episodes where it's like, all right, for I don't usually have the time to sit and watch all 3 back to back to back, but I can break them up over a day, 2 days, or I'm like, it's nice to just have a good download of Andor every week. That show is so good, it's incredible. I'm scared for next week, but you
know what? With good TV, shows that are super serious, you do have those weeks where you're like, I can't wait for next week, but boy, am I nervous about what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's like, it's going to be great, but it's also going to be real sad. Here we go. But yeah, it's great. So for Star Wars fans out there, definitely, if you're not watching Andor, what's wrong with you? Get on it. It's so good. And check out their coverage over on the Star Wars TV cast. But aside from Podcastica, of course, we want to give some love to our other friends, other networks, and other things that you definitely need to check out. Of course, Pirate Core Entertainment Podcast Network has a lot of great stuff on there. Of course, just give another shout out to the What's On Tonight podcast with Becky, who left some feedback earlier, and Mandy have been covering different shows and stuff. They covered the first season of The Pit, so you can go check out all that coverage and stuff. They've done a few interviews and stuff, and they may be working on another one. We'll let you know for sure next week exactly what they got coming. But besides that, Mandy from that one, and Becky is actually on this first episode with her as well, has launched a new podcast over on that network called Dinner for Her. It is a podcast about historic women with flavor, as she puts it. And so this first episode, Becky's joining her to talk all about Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
So you like the history, if you like the stuff, definitely check that out because it's really cool. So
Yeah.
Give that a listen. And, of course, over there on Pirate Core Entertainment, the Pirate Core Music Podcast. Mark has been covering different albums and talking about all kinds of things that go into those and the music and the history and all of it with different people. We had like an Alanis Morissette first episode. Mark was also joined by Rima to cover Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction on episode 2. So definitely check those out. Episode 3 is just now out. And you can check out Laura and Billy actually getting together to talk about Joy Division. So
from Joy Division came one of my favorite bands of all time, New Order. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
So definitely music fans, you're going to want to check out that podcast as well. A lot of good stuff. And then over on TV Podcast Industries, got to give some love to them. They are also covering The Last of Us. A lot of great coverage over there, so you can check out them, talk about that. So if you need more Last of Us coverage, which of course you can never go wrong with it after listening to The Cast of Us, then to go check out TV Podcast Industries, get their coverage as well. And then, as I say, for whatever reason, after listening to all that, if you still want to listen to more of me and Daphne and our friends Jeff and Jerry, of course, the Buffalo podcast is still going strong every week. We're having a lot of fun over there. Take a break from the TV shows, the movies, and just try to make each other laugh and have a good time. Maybe driving Daphne a teeny little bit crazy. I don't know. Having a good time, being ridiculous, making each other laugh, playing crazy games, and just having a good time with it. So definitely check that out if you just want a little breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you guys do push me quite hard sometimes, but I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't get to spend that time with you guys.
Right. She keeps coming back, so
I do.
Either she is having a really good time or the Stockholm Syndrome has fully kicked in. Either way, we'll see. But she keeps coming back, so it's been a good time. So lots of great stuff for you to listen to. Check it all out. And then next week you can be right back here to Run for Your Lives because we'll have something fresh and fun and new for you. Daphne, what are we covering next week?
Well, a grieving widower returns to his eerie hometown to unravel the mystery behind a ventriloquist's cursed legacy. We are covering the 2007 film Dead Silence. It was directed by James Wan and has a screenplay by someone that we've covered on this podcast before, Lee Wanell.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. The minds that brought you the Saw franchise.
Yes.
Bring you this.
Yeah, it's an old school movie. I mean, old school. It's 2007. That's pretty old school at this point. If we're
it's
being
almost
honest.
20 years old.
Right.
I mean, 18 years old. So, yeah. And with that, we've reached the end of another creepy episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pate.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.